As you may know, recently there have been a series of reports of outrageous highway piracy by law enforcement officers. They call it civil forfeiture, but it is plain robbery under color of authority, and it is now happening everywhere. In this video, you'll see some very important steps you can take to protect yourself. Under civil forfeiture, property is now being stolen by police from people who are charged with no crimes. When officers initiate traffic stops, they are actually asking people if they are carrying any cash. Police do this when they're not even involved in any criminal investigation. They're simply fishing for money out on the open highway. It is critical now, if you are detained by police, that you remain silent as you have the right to do. People regularly make the mistake of telling law enforcement officers that they're carrying cash because they may have a perfectly legitimate reason for carrying that cash. The police do not care why you are carrying cash. When they find out you have it, they simply take it, and they will quickly contrive some pretense that if you have a lot of cash, you must be a drug dealer or a terrorist. They will do nothing to verify your claims of legitimate business. You will then have to sue the law enforcement agency to try and recover what they have stolen. You will not recover your money if you cannot prove in court that you were not in the drug business, if it is possible to prove such a thing. Most people never recover their stolen money or property, even though they are usually never charged with any crime. The word forfeit does not mean something taken. It means something you give up. Under civil forfeiture, no one is giving up anything. It is simply being taken. The theft of private property under threat of force and harm is terrorism. How could any law enforcement officer be so blind and ignorant to convince themselves that this could possibly be acceptable law enforcement conduct? This is not a small criminal enterprise by law enforcement. It is a large one, involving many billions of dollars every year and in full swing in nearly every city of the country. And they're not just taking money, they're taking cars, jewelry, even homes. Many police departments rely on millions of dollars of this theft every year as a regular part of their operating budgets. This has also been called policing for profit. And if you ever have money or valuables in your car, you could easily have this happen to you. Many police departments have now paid thousands of dollars for private trainers to coach them in this larceny, and they have shifted their department's focus from protecting and serving to searching out piles of money to seize and enrich themselves. Yes, themselves. They literally keep the stolen money and spend it as they wish. What a great idea, huh? Some people refuse to believe this is even going on, or they think it's limited, or it's somehow legitimate police business. It is not. Nearly every law enforcement agency and jurisdiction now commits some form of civil forfeitures on a regular basis. You will never hear them claim that civil forfeiture is authorized under the constitutional limits of their authority. They simply refuse to answer any such questions because, amazingly, this is the new normal, the new widespread criminal piracy by our civil authorities. Civil forfeiture is perverted and corrupt public policy, which caused a disastrous temptation to law enforcement. That temptation should never have been offered to them. Every public servant who participates in civil forfeiture violates their sacred and sworn oath of service. Police have shown clearly that even having sworn an oath to never do anything like civil forfeiture, they are unable to resist temptations to enrich themselves by violating people's rights. This reveals something about the character of our police that we never wanted to see. They will gladly skip and jump to the opposite side of the law if there is something in it for them. The fact that courts permit this is shameful demonstration of judicial violations of oath, duty, the law, and the rights of the victims. Understand, this is not criminal forfeiture, where they take the property of criminals. This is civil forfeiture, where they have decided they have some right to steal the property of anyone who has property. It is simply unbelievable the places that our civil authorities think they can go. Any law enforcement officer who engages in civil forfeiture is a menace to the community. These officers should receive absolutely no respect or support from the community, and we must all demand their removal from service. Your city council is responsible for overseeing your police department. Every one of us should attend a city council meeting and tell them in no uncertain terms that we will not tolerate civil forfeiture in our cities. If traffic laws are enforced by sheriffs in your area, you should let them know. You should tell the elected sheriff that he or she will not receive your vote if civil forfeiture is allowed in your community. State legislators should get the very same message because the state police are sometimes the worst offenders. If we cannot actively and loudly oppose this breach of law and public trust, we are doomed to a tyranny of official crimes, violations, plunder, and profiteering at the expense of our rights, property, and security. If law enforcement thinks they have a right to roam society and pillage whatever booty they can find, what will they do next? Because police have stepped over this line, we must all handle ourselves very differently in traffic stops. This is not your father's country where police were there to help you and protect your rights. For instance, the Canadian government has already warned Canadians not to carry cash when traveling in the USA due to the threat of civil forfeitures. When other countries are warning their citizens about our tyrannies, it is time to take another look at what we used to think was a free country. It is no longer safe to say anything to an officer who stops you on the road. Most of us are not trained in how to invoke our rights and avoid self-incriminating chit-chat with police officers. Officers are trained to get us to chatter away and incriminate ourselves. They're not chatting with us to make new friends. They will seize every word you say and use it as a trap against you. Most of us are not prepared to memorize a lot of legal declarations and recite them under duress. So the website freedomtaker.com has a page that could be very useful to you. At freedomtaker.com, just click on the traffic stops page. In the center column is a brief explanation of how all of us can protect ourselves in traffic stops by using the resource on that page. The resource is right below that. It is a very carefully worded and very important invocation of rights. You can select this text, copy and paste it into your word processor, and print it out so that all the words you need can be kept right in the glove compartment of your car and handed to any officer at any time. This is a critical document to present to any officer detaining you for any reason, and it is absolutely vital to say nothing other than what is on this document if you want to minimize the trouble you may face. Enter in no conversation other than to refer to this document. Any lawyer will tell you the best way to handle a traffic stop is to simply invoke your rights and say nothing more. This document makes it very easy for you to do that. Basically, all you have to say is, please read this. If you can manage to say only something like, I refer you to my document, and to repeat that every time the officer tries to trick you into some conversation, you will have the best possible chance of challenging the traffic stop in court and even making claim against the officer for any misconduct and violations of your rights. Most importantly, you will be withholding private and personal information that can and will be used against you. And by invoking your rights, you will be legally refusing and most likely preventing searches and seizures of your money and property. In that traffic stop, if you say anything whatsoever besides the reservations of rights in this document, it can be seen by the officer as an invitation to search your vehicle and steal your property, as they now do on a daily basis. By simply knowing what is in your car, they can decide that is suspicious and tell you to get out of the car as they search it and help themselves to whatever goodies they might decide they want for themselves. It's hard to emphasize enough how dangerous civil forfeiture is to society. It is encouragement of personal greed and profiteering by people who carry weapons and who carry authority to commit violence against us. People who are truly protecting society do not swipe the money of innocent travelers. The fact that so many police departments now do this should be cause for major alarm in every segment of society. The police love to tell the news media what a wonderful deterrent civil forfeiture is. Well, of course it's a deterrent. Terrorism does cause fear. If they dragged us out of our cars and shot us in the head for using our wiper blades, I'm sure that the use of wiper blades would go way down. The question is not if it is a deterrent. The question is it moral? Is it fair? Is it right? In the USA, we have crossed some line where police no longer know right from wrong. Taking the property of people who have not been convicted of a crime is wrong. Property seizure is punishment, and civil forfeiture is punishment without due process. As long as people calling themselves law enforcers are doing this, we do not have a civil society. Civil rights are what law enforcement is supposed to be protecting. When the police change their game, we have no choice but to change ours. When we are to be robbed and penalized for cooperating with police, we must learn to cooperate in a very different way. The document at freedomtaker.com is carefully thought out to help you in a very simple way to secure your rights, property, liberty, and safety. And that document is provided at no cost. Simply select the indicated text, copy it off the web page for printing, and carry several copies in your car at all times. Sadly, we now find ourselves in a harsh new world for which very few of us are prepared. In the past, we did not have to carry legal invocations of rights around in our cars. Now, we do.